true independent experimental filmmaking is and always will be birthed in the innovators, the extreme, not afraid to be an outlaw type of filmmaking. Stuff like that is where some of the best stuff comes from.
Today we have with us Jay Crimson from the band No Class Assassins, host of the Crimson Cult podcast, and he's also a filmmaker and currently working on a feature called Lilith. Jay, great to have you with us. Thank you for being here.
Hey, how are you?
Good, man. Good. This is great.
Like you said,
yeah, absolutely. Great to have you. This is cool because you're kind of a triple threat. You do a podcast. You've been a musician for a while. You've also been filmmaking for a while. That Green Hell movie that I was watching that you have a bunch of shorts on YouTube. That one you said you had started filming in 2006. So tell me about, like, what were you drawn to first, filmmaking or music?
Ooh, that's a tricky one growing up. I was drawn to movies first. Just being a young kid and watching Halloween and the Friday the 13th movies and stuff like that. I was just like, oh man, I want to be a part of this somehow. But the music part took off quicker because I had like-minded guys who wanted to make music, and we were big into metal and punk and death metal, stuff like that. We got a band together. I was in a band way back in high school, and always with my bass player and my best friend Chris Stotler, which is the bass player for No Class Assassins, and he also plays bass for my other side project, the Candle Burners, with Bruce Keith, guitarist, and I play drums in that. It's more like a stoner doom,
nice,
like Black Sabbath, I Hate God type of stuff. But yeah, that, and I sing in a punk band called Chemical Valley Mutants, and we don't really have anything out yet because we just started in September, October-ish, but we're writing and we're probably going to record. No Class is kind of on a little break, guitar player health and stuff like that, and just everything since COVID, because we got signed to Alphi Records in late 2019, early 2020. We put out our first full length, The Cruel Fate of Destiny, and we made a music video for it, and then COVID hit and things kind of went, wow, what's going on here? So I decided to start another movie project, and this one, bigger budget. It's gonna be something.
No, is this currently Lilith that you're talking about, or you're talking about
Lilith?
Okay, cool. Yeah, go ahead and talk about Lilith, what it's about, and what your inspiration was for this movie.
Ooh, so the old 60s, 70s satanic panic, all that stuff, was kind of my inspiration for this. I always wanted to make a shocker, and this is definitely going to be my shocker because it has graphic nudity and graphic violence in it. My biggest thing is always showing people something they've never seen on screen before, and I'm pretty sure this one's going to deliver. It's a graphic, psychedelic, dark, violent journey through the life of a junkie prostitute who decides to perform a ritual to help her out of her horrible life of drugs and sex, and she ends up, I'll just say she ends up becoming possessed by a demon.
Oh, that's a cool concept, actually. I like that.
Yeah, terror ensues.
Yeah, sort of like using a Ouija board to communicate with your dead loved one, and then you end up summoning up a demon spawn instead. Yeah, kind of. That's cool. That's a cool idea. I like that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. So you're still filming that right now? Is that right? Or
I'm filming some wrap-up pickup shots, for it. A couple extra things to push the story forward, and just some extra visual stuff. I want to create something dark, violent, horror movie-esque and visual for the viewer.
Yeah. And you made a bunch of other short movies before, which are on YouTube, and Green Hell, which is about like close to 50 minutes long.
Yeah.
So that was close to a feature right there. So what did you learn from those movies that you used on this one?
Well, probably filming techniques. Um, with Green Hell, it was my first attempt at a short film uh, back in '06, '08. A lot of the footage I was sitting on for a while because I didn't think anything would come of it. And
Yeah.
then I met my buddy Justin Squires of Dark Forest Media, who has his short films as well, and he uses more professional equipment than I do. I like to use the bare minimum to get that grainy feel
Yeah. Yeah.
because I really like the whole '80s VHS aesthetic. um the tape lines and glitches and all that. I like putting those purposely in my movies and stuff like that to make you feel like you're watching an old VCR tape.
Yeah, I do
um,
too. I love that stuff. And
uh, I released Green Hell in late 2013, I think October, November. We had a screening at local place called the Roach Bar in Port Huron, Michigan. We filmed Green Hell all on a Sony Handycam, so it was all on a tape. It was those first cameras that had that pull out thing, and you could see the little screen with
oh yeah.
what you were recording on it.
Was it like one of those old school Hi8 cameras that you used, or was it like a mini DV
Yep,
one? Okay, yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yeah, and
Yeah.
you could hear the film running the whole time.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah.
If
It's
you
great.
listen in some parts in Green Hell, you can hear the camera rolling in the background.
Yeah, it's funny too because like so many of those things, like they don't make VHS players anymore. And if you want to get them off of Amazon, they're like 200, $300. Same thing with like those old school Hi8 cameras. Those are kind of hard to find. If you can find them, they're super pricey. And you usually can't find them in brick and mortar stores. But um, yeah, and it's funny how much like Hollywood goes to an effort to recreate the super low budget look. Like the look like they spend so much money to make it look like it was shot on no money. I find that hilarious. So when VHS series came out, it started about 2012. And I noticed a lot of similar techniques. So is that a coincidence, or did you watch like any of VHS before you released it? Because it was about like right around the same time, but you had filmed it starting in 2006.
Right. I'm not really influenced too much by the VHS series. I do dig them. They are cool. I
Yeah, I
like.
do too. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, this was pretty much solely based on me loving the '80s, being an '80s
Yeah.
baby,
Mhm.
and just I remember I used to mess with the VCRs constantly to record stuff and try to copy things. And
Yeah.
actually, when I first had some of the original Green Hell footage, I pieced some of it together through VCRs, if that
Oh,
makes sense.
nice. Yeah. Oh,
That's
yeah.
how I
Yeah.
had one tape play and I was recording on the other one. So some of that is in there and some of that made the final cut. So it's kind of cool.
Oh, that's great. Like, especially like when you're editing from VHS to VHS, like when it was all linear editing, if you made any mistakes, you had to go all the way back or shoot something over again. So
Yep.
yeah, things were far less forgiving back then, but also too, probably forces you to make decision, like really forces you to make the right decision. Like as you know, like when they used to shoot everything on film and now it's all digital. Now you can just shoot tons of stuff, but there didn't used to be those options before because film was so expensive,
Yeah.
or re-editing the entire thing again would be completely expensive. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And being independent or underground based, you are kind of forced to come up with creative shots and forced to come up with different ideas to get your depiction of what you want, how you want the story to progress on
Mhm.
screen. Um, True independent experimental filmmaking is and always will be birthed in the innovators, the extreme, not afraid to be an outlaw type of filmmaking. Stuff like that is where some of the best stuff comes from.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that Hollywood steals from and doesn't admit that they steal from, but they do. They
Ah,
steal bits and pieces
yes, they
of
do.
the indie stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Green Hell, I think you were probably way ahead of your time then, because the whole retro thing didn't start up until like the last 10 years or so, when they really started like recreating those other formats. Even now, like when they do video games now, they'll totally intentionally make them look retro. But this was like very authentic. And what's funny too is that when Hollywood tries to push what they push as indie movies, they're usually kicked in with a lot of Hollywood money into them. So like Blair Witch was shot on 16 grand, but who knows how much money Hollywood put into that for the sound and everything else. Like when you're watching like a true, it's not polished when you're watching a true micro budget, authentic, low budget movie, and Hollywood just can't recreate that. And they'll never like usually show something super low, but even Sundance, look how Sundance started. Robert Redford wanted people to see true, authentic, low budget, micro budget stuff, and now it's just like a vehicle for stars to get prestige.
Yeah, it seems to be that's kind of the circle things
yeah,
go.
absolutely. Yeah, it starts like super independent. Eventually, it will get corrupted. Eventually, everything will get corrupted and be consumed by the one larger Borg system. Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. So with Green Hell, there was a lot of cool experiment. I think this is cool because this is a good info to give to other like indie filmmakers or people that are starting out their own movies. What you were using in that movie was, you don't have money on your side. You don't have a lot of things that are on your side. You have everything against you when you're doing an indie movie. Just to have like two people show up at the same time is a challenge. You mentioned in the beginning of Green Hell, you were sort of doing an intro and talking about how purposefully low budget it is. You're like, this is a total, like meant to be an experimental, low budget movie, made to look like it's completely like shot on VHS and everything. You called it a basement film. So I thought that was interesting. Kind of explain where you got that term from, or what a basement film is.
I forgot where I originally heard that for the first time, but I think it was some sort of article online, or maybe even in one of my old horror magazines,
Yeah.
or whatever. But basement film, like friends not getting paid, no money involved,
Yeah.
finding a shitty spot to film so it looks
Right.
gritty and stuff like that. And no one's getting paid. It's just a labor of love. It's a boredom killer,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Um, yeah, that's pretty much what a basement film is. Yeah, basement film, basement movies. It doesn't mean you filmed the whole thing in a basement. The just the whole underground independent vibe to it all.
Yeah, it's a cool term. I had never heard it before, but that's awesome. But there's certain things. So like, I think that like what you used in your advantage in this movie was you were using a lot of these experimental techniques. So basically, you and your friend are going by this place where they're doing experiments on animals, super shady experiments on animals. And there's a little green bottle that you drink from, makes you see crazy shit, makes you hallucinate. You're seeing like demons, like people like with these green faces attacking you, causing cannibalism, all kinds of other crazy stuff. And so when you go into the hallucinatory scene, some of it like reminded me a little bit of like some Italian cinema, like when eyeballs are getting ripped out and everything. But the static shots and some of these other shots where you cut to scan lines, and then you'll just like do like these sort of like random shots that are kind of psychedelic that you'll cut in for just like a couple seconds. Those are really cool techniques. And the premise of it kind of, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Street Trash, but it reminded me of the movie Street Trash, the underground New York movie Street Trash. And even the locations are cool because I think like where you're at, you tap into some great locations, like these almost kind of like post-apocalyptic, like this rubble, these buildings and everything. You could almost do like a post-apocalyptic movie in some of these settings that you're in, but that added to it too. I mean, that added to a total authenticity, whereas Hollywood would come in and they would probably spend like $1 million to create a set like that. But where did you find kind of some of those areas? And here's what I want to ask. Did you get in any kind of trouble with the law? Because it looks like a lot of it was kind of guerrilla style.
The law. Damn. I'm always getting in trouble with the law. When am I not getting in trouble with the law? Well, first off, in Marysville, Michigan, which is kind of in my St. Clair County area, they tore down a factory right about where I lived in the apartments in Marysville by the water. And I was like, we got to film there. That looks awful. That's perfect. Let's set up there. Let's him daring me to drink it and stuff like that was right there. Yeah, I wish they could tear down a factory like every other week around here.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah.
I'd have a killer spots to film at.
Oh, it's perfect. Like some of your music videos too have those same kind of locations, and that's just I mean, that's you can't set decorate anything better than that.
Right. I was pleasantly pleased
Mhm.
with how it turned out. Um, Psychedelic, I always thought horror could use a little dose of trippiness,
Mhm.
psychedelic to, because they go hand in hand really, and most they're
Yeah.
they're starting to do it more um, with the whole H.P. Lovecraft inspired stuff like Color Out of Space with Nick.
Oh yeah, the Nick Cage, that was pretty sweet. I loved
Yeah,
how
and
they
that
did.
Mandy movie. Oh
Yeah,
man,
Mandy was great. Yeah, Mandy was
great.
great. I loved how they did the practical effects at the end of Color Out of Space, which was
Hmm.
very like reminiscent of The Thing. There was some
Oh
really
yeah.
cool stuff in that. Mandy is just fantastic. Like the whole way through, like the speaking of how much music adds to a movie, that background music, that atmospheric music in the whole movie just sort of puts you into a kind of trance when you watch it. It's great how they set that up.
Well, yeah, audio can make the world of difference. Like you could film a jar of mayonnaise for an hour and a half, but
Yeah.
the last 20 minutes could be
Yeah.
make you think, is this mayonnaise jar gonna explode?
If you feel like you're on drugs when you're watching a movie like that, it's doing its job right. And there was certain techniques that you used in Green Hell that were like that too, sort of kind of like it really does make you feel like you're wasted when you're watching it because there's lines that are like repeating like the characters are like repeating their own lines back and forth, and it's really like your mind kind of stopping. Like when you're wasted and you're going back and thinking about what's happening when you're wasted or when you're in that moment, your mind's like repeating the same things or like seeing different things, and then when you go into your different state of sobriety, everything's completely opposite. But I think you tapped into that really well. But it's like part of putting you in that trance, part of putting the audience in the trance that I think worked well in that.
Yeah, I think you're referring to the scene where Dave's character goes to visit Nick,
Mhm.
and they end up doing meth, and he keeps saying, "My girl Tasha, I got her
Yeah,
number. I
yeah,
got her number." I
yeah,
was
yeah,
like, I want him to repeat the word Tasha just so the viewer knows that's the girl in the next scene's name.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that's the because we both split up. My character goes and visits Tasha and gets fucked up, and he goes to visit Nick and gets fucked up. But I wanted them to connect somehow.
yeah,
We both drank this green liquid, and
yeah.
we split up, have different separate weird scenarios happen, and then we end up back together. It's funny. It was fun.
Yeah, yeah. But you're right. They are doing more stuff like that. It's usually like with the indie stuff, because Color Out of Space was pretty indie. Mandy was pretty indie. When this is another thing I was noticing too. When there's the cannibal scenes, and people are eating, um, and people are eating the well, like they're eating like the human flesh. What do you have them eat? Because I remember
The
when I was
sex
listening.
scene.
There was like the maggots in that where he's like vomiting out the maggots onto her. But yeah, were those real bugs that he had? But when like there's that earlier scene when you're stumbling across those people, they're all chomping down on somebody.
Oh yeah,
And
out of
so
nowhere.
when you have people eat gross things that resemble human flesh, what do you have them eat? Or maggots, I guess.
Well, I went out and purchased some mealworms
Hmm.
and from the local pet store,
Hmm.
and that um, I like having critters in my movies.
Yeah,
They add
absolutely. Yeah.
an element. Which in Lilith, there's a snake, spider, ants. Uh, there's definitely a snake. You'll know why I say that when you see it. Um, but let's see. I had them eat liver,
Oh,
raw liver.
you had them read. Wow, you got some dedicated cast members. Damn.
Uh huh. Uh-huh. It's like an upscale basement film.
I remember hearing about the old school well, it was Night of the Living Dead originally, and how like people were like almost getting sick because if it wasn't like I think it was stuff like that was almost raw. I have to look at that again, but I'm not sure exactly what it was. But it was basically making people like almost vomit or stuff that was like out in the sun for a while. But I'm always kind of interested in that kind of stuff. What do you use for like your gore effects as well too? Do you got any like secrets that you use for those?
mm, no, no secrets. I buy. Hold on one second. I'll show you.
Yeah.
Okay. So I like using this stuff right here.
Mhm. Oh, nice. Red blood bottle. Okay, cool. Where do you pick
This
that
stuff,
one up at?
this stuff's my favorite. I get it on eBay or Amazon. Someone pre-mixes it.
What did you make that, or was that a victim?
No,
Or oh,
this is from James Bell. James
okay.
Bell. This is silicone,
Damn, that looks good. Holy shit!
and if you look, you can see the hair
Wow, man.
like it. He's really good with that stuff. Um,
Yeah, yeah, that looks like almost too good. That is crazy how real that looks. Oh wow.
yep. And then I made
Oh wow.
with a blood pump
Oh
through the back,
nice.
through the eye,
Oh, that's cool, man. You got some, yeah, you got some
stuff
skills.
like that.
That's sweet.
But yeah, the I like using the
Mhm.
Smithy's red blood bottle.
So, question, does that get like, can you wash that out as well too? Does that wash out the
Yeah,
clothes
you
and stuff?
can. Yeah, you can wash it out.
Okay.
Strangely enough, soap and water does work, but detergent
Yeah.
detergent will get it out quicker. Like Tide.
Yeah, yeah. It's always tricky to find the right kind of like props to use or right kind of gore effects to use that'll wash out. Otherwise, they'll just ruin shit. Like the recipe used to be like the little bit of green food coloring, red food coloring, and then the Caro syrup, and then a little bit of water to thin it out. But that's usually pretty difficult to get out of clothes and shit too. So
Yeah, we used a lot of Caro syrup and
mm,
red food coloring
yeah,
for Green Hell.
yeah. I think in the original Psycho they just used chocolate syrup because of the black and white.
Yep, we used chocolate syrup
Hmm.
in The Witch, my movie The
Hmm.
Witch.
Yeah, yeah. Does that have any kind of tie-in to Lilith at all?
I I'm just gonna go ahead and say that all my movies are in the same universe.
Okay.
So there's there's some things that will be familiar in Lilith to the other movies I've done. Um, but it's not a conscious thing really. It's
Hmm.
just I think I want to throw in some characters from Green Hell,
Yeah.
maybe in Lilith.
Oh yeah,
If
yeah. Right on.
people catch on to it at all. I don't know.
This is cool on your YouTube page, where it talks about the Crimson Cult podcast, and you have some promos from people. Lloyd Kaufman gets on there, and he does a promo for you. And Lloyd Kaufman is awesome. And the very first horror movie that I ever saw was Toxic Avenger. And I remember I was in baseball like in seventh grade, and this kid's like, ah, you got to see this movie. It's so low budget, but it's hilarious. But it's so low budget. It's people like that haven't seen super low budget movies and they don't understand like the whole world of them. But that's kind of what really got me into B movies and everything else. Was there a certain movie or a number of different kinds of movies? There's like a couple of movies you could pick out, one or a couple that inspired you, that speak to you, that make you want to replay them over and over again, that made you want to make movies.
Um, the original Evil Dead
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
for sure. The effects, what they had to use, what they did with what they had to use. Yeah, classic.
Yeah.
Definitely inspired me to buy some blood pumps and fake heads.
It was funded a lot by dentists too, I guess.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell went around looking. They were looking for funding, and they got it through guys that were dentists because they had a bunch of disposable income, and they were interested in movies. And then I think Bruce Campbell put up some of his property. He made this like his dad like put up some of his property, like some cabin that they had or something like that, to fund Evil Dead. Fortunately, it all worked out for him. But yeah, Evil Dead's an amazing movie. Just like how it innovated the camera work in that movie alone, like that kind of DIY stuff. I love like hearing like stories about DIY kind of stuff. And when
Me
they
too.
strap the camera on those two boards and they're running through the woods, like, I mean, you hadn't seen anything like that until that movie came around.
Uh-huh.
Um, in like the whole trilogy of Evil Dead movies, which one's your favorite?
Ooh. First one.
Yeah.
First
They,
one.
it's the most bizarre. The first one and the second one are so bizarre because they're essentially the same movie, but they're a different version of the same movie. Like a lot of the same
Yeah.
camera work and everything else, but a little bit more gonzo in the second. But the first one is mostly serious, and then the second one has that Three Stooges element to it.
Yeah, that
Actually,
slapstick.
it's like being a parent and trying to choose between two children. Which one's your favorite, I guess. But yeah, no, they're both fantastic. They just two completely separate kind of movies. And what other kind of movies?
This Lilith movie,
Uh-huh.
this is what it was filmed on.
Oh, right on. So
All of it.
which version is that? Which iPhone is that?
This is actually a Motorola E6 Android.
No kidding. Wow, that's cool. Are you able to put like different kind of like little detachable lenses on it and stuff too, or?
I think I could, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Me being the '80s freak that I am,
Yeah.
figured why not? It's HD. Phones can have crazy things on them now.
Oh, you're right. Yeah. And then, yeah, you can get like dollies for them and all kinds of cool stuff from those like
Yeah.
little steady cams they make from everything. No, it's awesome. That's that's pretty much the wave of the future right there. They started, remember when Steven Soderbergh made that movie, it was like shot on like an iPhone 7. There was a couple of those that were shot on iPhone 7 when they first came out. Yeah.
Right.
No, but
There was a vampire movie that they approached it in a zombie fashion where
yeah. Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
where he gets bit and it takes him a while to transform.
Yeah.
They go on vacation or something. Isn't it like a
Is that
bandit?
Afflicted? Is that what it is? Is that the one?
Afflicted?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it.
Okay, yeah. Yeah.
That's it. I watched it, I think on Netflix or one of those streaming services when it first came out, and I was like, "This is a good flick. This is pretty good." They're telling they're telling an involved story ish with a phone.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great.
It's crazy to me.
So what are the any other movies that kind of stuck out to you or that?
Uh, The Prince of Darkness,
Oh, that's a great one.
John Carpenter. And John Carpenter, man, he's probably my favorite. Um, I do like what Ty West is doing right now.
He's doing fantastic stuff right now. Both
And I haven't
X,
even seen Pearl yet.
oh, Pearl's great. Yeah, both X and Pearl are really, I dug X more than Pearl, just because I think the pacing, I think actually Pearl's probably objectively a better movie, but
That's
I think
what I've heard.
yeah, but X is just awesome because I like the whole like the ensemble part of X, and it does this chainsaw throwback to it, and the whole angle of it is that it's a horny old lady that wants to kill people because she's envious of being young and beautiful. And then Mia Goth, of course, plays the older lady, and she has this,
Oh yeah.
it's like at least 5 to 8 minute monologue in Pearl that's just, she should, in a fair world, she'd be getting an Oscar for it, but she probably won't even get nominated. But I mean, she's that good. And I just saw Infinity Pool the other day too, which is also great.
Infinity Pool, is that the third installment?
That is so David Cronenberg's son, Brandon Cronenberg, he's doing movies right now, and he's doing movies kind of like his dad used to do. So his dad kind of
cool.
makes more like mainstream stuff now, except for Crimes of the Future. But Infinity Pool feels like Videodrome, like an old school movie like Videodrome, or like Kind of Existence, like the old school Cronenberg stuff. But Mia Goth is in that too. So she's a rising star. And I think, yeah, Ty West is getting towards like the top of his game. I think they were both independently financed, Pearl and X, at about $1 million each, from what I heard.
Now, when it comes to independent movies blowing up, we have to talk about Terrifier 2.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Well, it's the little micro movie that could. Yeah. $250,000 theatrical release. Killed it at the box office. I was shocked by this, actually. I was shocked.
13.4 million they made.
Yeah. And a movie called Skinamarink right now, which is another micro budget movie that just came out. That's in the theaters right now too. I think that was made on about 16 grand. Now, usually you don't see, like, this is how we know there's an independent revolution right now, an independent filmmaking revolution, because usually it's once every 10 years you would see this happen. You would see Blair Witch, and then you would see Paranormal Activity, but they were spaced very far behind. But now with the innovation, with how inexpensive it is with the technology, everybody being able to make movies. Of course, it's a whole other thing actually making the movie, but with like streaming out there too, more avenues for people to see stuff, which is even more awesome that those movies are making it to the theater. Terrifier 2 gave people something in the theater that they are not going to see in any other Hollywood movie whatsoever. And I am totally shocked that it did as well as it did, because, well, part of it's probably marketing. People feel like they're on a dare to go see it. Like, especially if it's younger kids or kids are in high school and they're feeling rebellious and they want to go see it. And, you feel, but it's a gnarly movie. I mean, there was shit in that movie that I can't believe they got away with. I think it was unrated though. There's no way that movie's going to get an R rating whatsoever.
Oh,
but
no.
What helped it, I think, from the first one is that this one had like a little bit more of a surreal quality to it. So it was more kind of like, it had a Freddy, it reminded me of like Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, where there's the whole dream world that's involved with it. You have a feeling when you're watching that movie, like you're kind of entering a dream world, like there's some sort of non-reality to it. And that's what I think helped it appeal a little bit more to a mainstream audience. But I was both shocked and impressed that what happened with that movie.
Me too. It's about time.
Yeah.
But people throwing up and passing out and stuff like that, I'd have to see it to believe it.
I could definitely see that happening.
Yeah.
Like people like fainting, especially if they're not used to anything like that kind of a movie. They've never seen anything like that. I mean, the first Terrifier is pretty hardcore. And the second one is just more of the same. I mean, people getting their faces ripped up, but like just from like looking at it from an artistic standpoint, I mean, the fact that Damien Leone was able to do all those effects on his own is super impressive and make them look that real. That's another part of it that kind of floored me. If you're going to do effects so good and make people vomit, you're seriously doing a great job.
2 thumbs up. Damien Leone, man, he's probably on top of the world. He's probably
he is. Yeah.
What are the odds this was going to happen? I had a podcast with David Howard Thornton.
I was listening. Yeah, I was listening to it. Yeah.
And it was right in the peak of COVID, and Terrifier 2 wasn't finished yet. Mm-hmm. And he was telling me that we made something special.
Yeah.
And I hope people like it. And talk about special, 13.4 million. I bet he never would have thought that. I think the first Terrifier was like 13,000 to make, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the budget was, but I remember them saying it was really, really low. And that they were getting a lot of favors with it. This one, they actually it was more like kind of like a spectacle movie, but I think it took them a lot. Didn't it take them like almost like a year to a year and a half almost to make the Terrifier 2?
Yeah, because of COVID, everyone had to do masks and be safe and all that quarantine on set type of stuff.
Yeah.
Probably a lot of hand sanitizer going around.
Yeah, and like most bad guys, dude, that Art the Clown creeps me out so much. I mean, I think those movies, it's doing its job because he gets inside of your head. It's a weird thing where it's like kind of like when they take the drug in Green Hill and it gets inside of your head. Movies like that get inside of your head are absolutely special, because if a movie is able to not leave your mind, like find some little part of its mind to work its way into and just stay there and creep you out for a while. I mean, that's a thing that a lot of people aren't able to accomplish. And that Art, just like his performance of Art the Clown, is so fucking creepy. And I just sort of like, you're watching it because even as like a horror fan who's watched tons of horror movies, it still freaks me out when I'm watching that. But I mean, but it's funny, like with your interview with him, like a lot of bad guys in movies, he's a super nice guy. And didn't he used to be like an educator too?
A teacher?
Yeah, didn't he used to be a teacher?
I think I read somewhere about that. Not sure offhand.
He studied for it at least. I think he studied to be a teacher, and then No, but he's cool. Like, no, he's just like the perfect guy that they chose for that. Like, well, first of all, like, well, here's the other thing. Not only are clowns creepy, but mimes plus clowns are super creepy. And then having a clown with a bunch of shit in his bag that's like do-it-yourself weapons with something that you would make in a video game to kill zombies with, and you take like 3 weapons and modify them together, put like a bunch of barbed wire or nails on it and shit. That's like what he's using to slaughter people. Oh man,
Yep.
that's yeah, it's that movie's so freaky, but it's awesome. It's awesome.
Going in like Spencer's or Hot Topic, whatever
Yeah.
whatever store he went into.
Yeah, pretty much. No, it's
That
great.
guy's like, what the?
No, he was in. Oh, this is kind of cool too. He was in, and now this didn't play anywhere near me, but he was in a movie version of The Grinch Who Stole Christmas, but they couldn't call it The Grinch Who Stole Christmas because there was rights issues, so they had to call it The Mean One. But he played the Grinch type of character in that one. Have you seen that one?
Nope, I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Or that is that Winnie the Pooh one out
Well,
already?
there, Blood and Honey, that one's coming out in like a week or two. I think it's coming out on the 17th. That one I'll actually be able to see in the theater, but that'll be interesting to see too. There's a whole new wave of not only, and these movies are all super indie too, not only super indie, but like super indie, playing upon your childhood fears, or like, well, things that are like kind of like Chucky did, things that are like comforting to you when you're a child. Yeah,
Yep.
so gonna give a
Uh-huh.
whole new generation of people nightmares now, a whole new nightmares.
For sure.
I'm totally interested to see that like Blood and Honey movie. Yeah.
Me too.
Okay, let's see. Is there anything that we didn't cover here? Okay, cool. Yeah, we pretty much got everything. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. Being a musician, when you sing like that, like you're in a hardcore metal band, so when you sing like that, how do you tour and sing like that with that pitch in your voice without wrecking your voice? Is there that's got to be a certain skill.
Right. It took a while. I used to bang my vocal cords up for a while
Yeah.
in the beginning. You it's almost like I don't know, you condition yourself a certain way and you can make your body used to whatever as
Mhm.
long as you can do those things that'll help, like tea, lemon in warm water, stuff like that. Um, you could, and you find your own way because it's all about that diaphragm in your lungs and holding that reserved air. Um, it took a while.
Yeah. I was always curious about that. Because I'm like, if you're on, like, how can you sing like that for just like one show, let alone like if you're going on a tour without, especially like if you're partying on top of it too, that's got to make it even harder to.
Right. Some vocalists are it comes more natural than others. Some guys got to work on it a little bit longer. Um, like the singer of Fear Factory, I know that he has had a hard time, and he's done vocal stretches, vocal warm ups, and stuff before he goes on there. And when the older you get, the more you got to do these things. Cut out things that are bad for your vocals, like coffee. Coffee and alcohol aren't the greatest for a
Yeah.
screamer,
Yeah.
a screamist.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
but
Yeah,
yeah,
that's why rock stars usually like their careers are not very long, is because they usually well just live too hard too fast
oh
and
yeah,
wreck out. Like even like Guns N' Roses, they're screaming a lot when they're singing too. But there was probably a reason that they would show up like 2 hours late for concert a lot of the times too. But
right. Oh
yeah. Anyways, well, it's been awesome talking to you, Jay. Let us know where
yeah.
we can find your work, and anything else that you'd like us like people to know about, or like kind of like links or websites where they can find out about your work.
Okay. Well, you can check out all the stuff I do. I am constantly on social media because it's part of what I do, and I like reaching out to people and talking to people who are interested in what I'm about. So there's facebook.com/noclassj, and it's J Crimson. And there is, let's see, youtube.com/killyourboss69. I know, the old high school
Yeah.
URL. The That let's see, that's my YouTube, which is Crimson Videos. It has some podcasts on there in video form, and just just the ones with the image and it plays
Mhm.
the audio. I'm looking into doing more stuff like this. I think it would be cool. Um, yeah, that. Let's see, my Facebook. There's a Crimson Videos page where all my work's on, but mostly my own page, my home page, Jay Crimson. I post constantly about stuff I'm doing. Um, I let people know about this show, this
Yeah.
podcast, and I'll post stuff up constantly about that. Um, Updates on Lilith will be posted on there, and the YouTube stuff, updates with my band Chemical Valley Mutants will be on there. The Candle Burners have their own page. Um, all the bands got their own page and stuff like that, but you can find them all on my Facebook. And the links to any movie stuff I got going on will always be through my Facebook page
Oh,
and
awesome.
the YouTube one.
Well, you're a very busy guy. That's cool. Well, thank you for the time you gave us, and it was great talking to you about horror movies. And we look forward to your new movie Lilith coming out, and we'll post updates on that as well too. And until next time, whenever you stumble across a factory that looks shady and they're doing shady experiments on animals, and you see a bottle of green liquid, run the other way. Go drink you could drink a Monster instead, but it may be just as dangerous. Who knows?
Just as dangerous.
Yeah.
Just as dangerous.